Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update.
Money FM 89.3, good afternoon to you. Now, as the world of work evolves, people here in this region, Southeast Asia, and particularly in Singapore, we find ourselves at the intersection of global trends and regional nuances. In recent years, we hear of employers having to address rising employee burnout and adopt transformative technologies like AI. On the other hand, it is also increasingly challenging, coming from an employee point of view, to find a job. So according to a new LinkedIn report, a recent poll found over 60% of workers here struggled with the job search in 2024, surpassing the global average of 50% across 17 markets. Many are finding the job search process increasingly frustrating, applying for more roles, but hearing back less frequently. Apart from standing out during applications, other challenges include finding roles that match personal criteria and negotiating salaries. Be it employees or employers, how should we be rethinking our strategies to perhaps focus more on well-being, flexibility, and work-ready skills that are required to thrive in a rapidly changing environment? LinkedIn has published its latest Jobs on the Rise report, which looks at the roles that are seeing more listings in its recruitment elements and the skills that employers are looking for this year. Without further ado, let's speak with Fionn Ang, LinkedIn's Managing Director for Asia Pacific, to get her insights into the employment industry and the evolving dynamics of the job market. Welcome, Fionn. Great to have you join us.
Thank you, Lindy. Good afternoon.
Now, Fionn, looking at the Jobs on the Rise list serves as a roadmap to the future of work, I suppose. And some of the fastest growing jobs for 2025 barely existed 2 decades ago when I was first starting to look for jobs at the turn of the century. So tell us more about some of these hot jobs.
You rightly pointed out, 20 years ago, there are some jobs that never existed. So, for example, social media manager, data scientist, these roles never existed. And we're going to continue to see the same trends in terms of job skills required for the job is going to look very different. In fact, by 2030, 70% of the job skills required for jobs is going to look very different. And if you look at where we are right now, in addition to AI capabilities, hiring professionals in Singapore are looking for technical skills like software development, engineering, environment, sustainability. These are all skills that's fast and coming. And in particular in Singapore, you have got like AI engineer, environment, health and safety, lecturer, psychologist. These are the fast and coming roles in demand in Singapore.
Okay, and I see that for the Jobs on the Rise list for Singapore, it's got a fairly balanced mix of roles that, some are more technical in nature, and then some roles require a mix of technical and soft skills as well. So what do you make of that?
I think the technical skills is going to continue to be in demand, and that's what organizations are looking for because of the impact of where AI is. And even if you are not going to become an AI expert, becoming skilled in using AI is going to be essential. And not to forget the soft skills, like you rightly point out, the ability to communicate, problem solve, are some of the top soft skills that companies are looking for, and yet they find it difficult to source for these soft skills in candidates.
Okay, what about the not-so-new jobs like food and beverage assistant? I think there's a 92% average annual growth rate of jobs like these over a 3-year period. And then you have things like facilities coordinator. What are we seeing in these sort of jobs?
I think as we look into the skills that is required for these jobs, there will be certain industries that continue to be in demand. Like in Singapore especially, we see certain industries continue to demand skills in the service sectors. And so I think for candidates especially, they need to continue to remain agile and flexible. And the same applies for hiring managers, that to look for skills instead of just looking for people with specific skills. So, for example, in companies that is constantly looking for a customer service manager, if you look at it, that skills required for customer service manager are the same type of skills that you can find in a retail manager. So essentially, what we're saying is that it's important to keep looking at skills instead of just looking for people in a specific titles or people with the kind of background or kind of credentials, but rather look at skills that is easily transferable. And that will allow you to find people much easier.
Okay, so true. I like where you're going with this. So what are some of the top skills that companies are prioritizing? And how can organizations, address skills shortages effectively?
Well, there's two ways that we can think about it. One is definitely internally, and then the other way to think about it is externally. So internally, what we're hearing from companies is that it's important for them to look at reskilling as well as upskilling their people. So essentially what you're doing is that you look at what are the skills that are essential for your company and where your company is heading, and you continuously invest in understanding the needs of your business and making sure that you drive engagement. So the investment into internal mobility, ensuring that your people is constantly acquiring new skills is going to be important. And that's the internal part of it. And the beauty is that it helps to drive engagement and allow people to feel a sense of belonging. The other way to go about it is external hiring. The skills that's needed are things like AI skills, that's in demand, soft skills in demand, problem solving, emotional intelligence. These are skills that's not going to go away. Because even if you have got the capabilities in AI, if you don't have the human skills to work together, it's going to cause problem as well.
Okay. Now, on the other hand, I understand that LinkedIn's research highlights certain challenges in matching skills to job requirements where employees are concerned. So what don't they know? What can job seekers do better, to align their skills with the roles that are available out there to stand out in the application process?
Well, AI is definitely driving a big wave of change across many areas, including like what you just said, jobs and skills. And our research tells us that skills is going to change as much as 70% by 2030. And that's really rapid. So you can imagine that the skills gap that's challenging and to bridge in the short term, because people need time to develop their new skills and build new emerging capabilities. And hiring becomes a challenge because I have in-demand skills right now, roles right now, and I need these people urgently. So there's this mismatch that is happening, and job seekers are frustrated because, our data actually shows that 7 in 10 people in Singapore are planning to look for a new job in 2025 this year. And job shortage is getting harder. So in the face of this competitive market, job seekers are applying to more jobs than ever. But they're not hearing back. So the hiring manager also faced the challenge because they are trying to find the skills, and yet the people applying are a lot, but yet they trying to find the right people. It's been very difficult. So we really encourage job seekers to do a few things. One, be selective in the roles that you apply for, because LinkedIn is actually rolling out a new features that help to assess the skills that you have versus the skills that you're applying for, and actually allowing this feature to help you to kind of apply to the right role. Be selective. Secondly, continuously update your profile and making sure that you're acquiring new skills, and whatever new skills that you are acquiring, make sure you are updating your profile so that recruiters knows that you have these skills.
So apart from skills, what are you seeing? What are some of the biggest challenges recruiters face, particularly around hiring quality and volume?
In terms of hiring the people, the challenges that they face is the mismatch between the skills professionals and the skills that the companies are looking for. So the top challenges include, finding candidates with the right soft skills and technical skills. And then what I just said about the uptick in applications, which is not a fit for the role, that adds to the frustrations among the recruiters. And it really forced them to kind of, instead of looking at the jobs being applied, they are then proactively sourcing candidates due to the lack of qualified applicants. It becomes a challenge on both ends,
So for employers, how can they strike a balance between upskilling their current workforce and sourcing for skilled external talent?
I think the companies that are prioritizing that, it really needs to be a dual strategy. One is, the strategy of L&D as well as internal mobility to make sure that you're building up your existing workforce and that you're building the skills that is required. So our data actually shows that internal mobility rates increased significantly over the past few years. And because leaders recognize that the advantage of filling open roles from within is real, it helps companies and it helps employees to grow together. And it helps to promote retention and keep employees engaged. At the same time, sometimes the skill shortage is real. So it's important for them to actually look externally as well. And so taking a skills-first approach, looking at people with the right skills so that you can hire externally, and not just be very fixated on looking for a job title. Like if you just look for an AI engineer, you might not be able to find them. But if you look for people that has practiced, in the AI space, you might be able to find people with that skills that will become your AI engineer. But if you keep searching for that title, you might not be able to find them.
We haven't really talked about things like diversity, inclusion, and gig work as well. What other trends are you seeing in terms of hiring?
I guess gig economy is here to stay in that sense, because I feel like as more professionals are not hearing back from the hiring managers, they will then start to pick up some other jobs along the way. And that's one way that you build up your skills as well. So the gig economy is real in terms of building a portfolio of jobs instead of just a single role. So I feel like that is definitely an economy that will continue to grow. And, in terms of your question about I think companies know that when you have a diverse, inclusive team, it drives a greater psychologically safe environment and it brings value to the business. So at the end of the day, it has to make sense for the company. And when they see the benefits of creating a culture that allows diversity and drives greater inclusion as well as belonging, I think people will continue to invest in that area.
Okay. At the top of the interview, I talked about things like focusing on well-being, flexibility. So what are some of the top factors that Singapore professionals weigh on when considering roles?
You rightly say the two things that I often hear from hiring managers that candidates are looking for is flexibility, compensation, and growth opportunities. So if you look at some of the statistics that is showing, flexibility is still important. People like to feel like they have the ability to work from home if needed, and looks like that's something here to stay. And then you've got the importance of well-being, and that's what the Gen Z is looking for as well.
Okay. A final word before we let you go. What advice would you give first to employers and then to employees?
To employers, I would say that in a market that is rapidly changing, especially with the impact of AI, it's going to be difficult finding that purple squirrel, we call it. And, if you're always hunting for that purple squirrel using the job title, it's going to be really hard. So we strongly encourage companies to look at skills. We know that companies who look for skills have better chance of finding people. It's up to 5 times more. And to all the job seekers out there, continue to invest in yourself, making sure that you have an repertoire of skills that you can showcase. Be selective in the jobs that you apply for so that you don't feel ghosted. When you apply for the right jobs and you hear back and work on it, I think the opportunities is so much more. And lastly, because we're hearing from all these needs from our members as well, we are actually unlocking free LinkedIn courses, building career agility and resilience in the age of AI, as well as learning job as a skills-first candidate. And we are making that free for our members as well until 15th of February. So hopefully people can take advantage of that.
That's great to know. Thank you so much for your time and your insights, Fionn, and for telling us more about LinkedIn's annual jobs report. Fionn Ang, LinkedIn's Managing Director for Asia Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.